Welcome to today's episode of the Spiritual AI podcast. It's really good to have you guys back here. And on today's podcast, I've got a beautiful soul with me, and we were just talking in the background, and we kind of connected on Facebook over 10 years ago. So life has kind of come full circle, and we are having a beautiful conversation today. So today's guest is Raji Deva. She's a mentor and counselor with over 25 years of experience helping people move through life transitions and awakening to their true nature. She blends modern psychotherapy, Gestalt, and inner family systems with meditative inquiry from Zen, Kabbalah, and Eastern traditions. Through this rare fusion of psychology and spiritual teachings or technologies, Raji guides people beyond theory into real embodied transformation. Her mission is simple yet profound: to help each of us reconnect with the divine blueprint of who we truly are. Raji, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, and it is my pleasure to be here.
Beautiful. So I've got a couple of questions, and obviously we've got some questions for you today, but I think where we can start is if you can perhaps give the listener a little bit background of who you are. Where do you come from? How has life kind of formed you into the beautiful person that you are today?
Wow, it's a big question, but
Yeah.
I'll dive right in. I came from a very mixed background of many traditions and cultures. My mum was born in the British Raj in India. My father was coming from Morocco and the French Moroccan time in Morocco, well, when the French were occupying Morocco. And it was quite an incredible amalgamation. I was born in Israel, in an
Wow.
Americanized modern culture,
Yeah.
listening to Johnny Mitchell and Led Zeppelin, and then having my mums from the Bollywood films and the saris and the bangles and the curries, and then my dad, my Arab descendant dad, comes into the mix, and it was just like Israel at the 70s, like a massive big cauldron of traditions, and that's where I kind of found my first breaths as a
Oh,
human.
wow.
Yeah.
That
So
is
on,
that is beautiful. That is just like such a big mixture of beautiful energies, right? Global energy.
yeah.
So you obviously you were born in India?
No, I was born in Israel. My
Oh, you
mom,
were born in mum's from India, but you're
yeah,
born in Israel.
yes,
So
yes.
then obviously in Israel, that's where you kind of, how long did you live in Israel? Because that's obviously your influence, a lot
Yeah,
of your the spiritual essence that you hold,
that's
right?
right. Yeah. So, I mean, I was brought up in a Jewish tradition. Both
Mhm.
the mum and dad came from long heritage of Jewish culture, although
Wow.
from, in one in India and one from Morocco. So it was quite an interesting return to the source. And
Yeah.
yeah, and I found myself, one of the desert cities in Israel, a beautiful place where I grew up. I'm a desert girl. And it was yeah, it was a very interesting modern Americanized culture that didn't quite make sense of a lot of things, such as the political tension that was there at the time, and still, as we all
Mm.
know, the various different cultures that were coming in. I mean, imagine Australia in the first 30 years of
Mm.
its inception. It's very new and very different and barren almost in terms of foundations. And that's where I grew up. I grew up in this beautiful, strong, ancestral, traditional heritage, yet
Mm.
in a modern world, um,
Yeah.
all the while in the Middle East. So yeah, it was very interesting, very, very interesting. Now that I live in Australia, I know that looking back retrospectively, it's definitely a very unique circumstances.
Definitely would say that for sure. Yeah, I can just my mind can just go a million different ways there with this conversation. But so, so have you always have you always been on this journey, like a spiritual and self-development journey, because you kind of grew up in
Mm,
the cultures and and wherever how you grew up? Is that always
yeah,
been there for you, or did you kind of disconnect and came back to the
yeah,
spiritual side of things?
yeah. I know where you're going. It's a bit it's an interesting thing. I don't know that I had I mean I had a very difficult upbringing. Um,
Okay.
my dad was quite a difficult man. The situation was very volatile all throughout my childhood, in the house, outside. It was not an easy childhood for me,
Yeah.
in particular. And I think then I started to kind of get a little bit of I was a very sensitive child. I was always like, I used to save animals, and if a tree looks like it was bleeding, the sap was coming out, I'll bandage it. I was very, very tentative. I wanted to be a doctor. I really
Yeah.
wanted to heal. Like I had this torn childhood that just already wanted to feel the wholeness and the completeness of the essence of my being, but
Mm,
I didn't know how. And so something interesting happened when I went to India. It was very trendy at the time. I went to India when I was
mm.
21.
Yeah, right.
And then in that first journey out, which was a very adventurous journey, India at the time, in the early 90s or mid 90s was yeah, a very interesting place. And then that's when I had a profound experience that set me
Mm,
onto the path that I am today. I know today that it's called Samhadi. It's called an awakening experience where the identity completely dissolves.
mm,
At that time, I didn't know anything about it. I just
mm.
I was an
Yeah.
obnoxious teenager, just a very young adult
Yeah.
going after an adventure in India, and suddenly I immersed myself in this book, and I have a huge experience that was there for a couple of weeks, or at least a few weeks.
Yeah.
It wasn't a momentary. Um, and slowly it evaporated. It took
Mm,
time, but it kind of went away. But that experience was so profound
yeah.
that when I came back from it to my normal mind and my normal personality and all, it was like near-death experience, where people talk about near-death experience and they go the
Mm,
other side, and then that's it. It's always there with them. I saw something. I saw the potential of human consciousness.
yeah.
I understood the potential of human consciousness, and that's it. From there on, I was studying yoga, Zen Shiatsu, Reiki, a lot of Eastern philosophies, Chinese medicine. I was
Mm,
immersing myself in everything possible to understand how to get back to the state of pure beingness.
yeah. That is, well, that your journey speaks so deeply to mine as well. And I know it will speak really deeply to other people who, the listeners as well. Let's stay on your journey because you obviously then dove
Mm.
into and expanded, like you were saying, like the energy healing side of things. So, where did your journey take you then? Because I know when we met, like I said, over 10 years ago, you were doing like Kirtan. So, it was the
Yeah,
music. And so, obviously, you stepped into the sound as well. So,
yeah, true.
tell us about that as well and how you have kind of come from wanting to be a doctor, which is interesting because I'm sure you've got a story why you didn't become a doctor. Like I wanted to become a psychologist and life just didn't set
Yeah,
me up for that. So it's
yeah,
taken me time, but essentially your life purpose, the theme of your life, helping people. So it was you wanted to be a doctor, but it's brought you around and you're using all of these different Eastern philosophies now, all the energy work. So just dive into just kind of where does your soul want to take you now? Like, what is the one thing that you think, you know, where you're going, what you're working on right now, this
Mm,
magic. Let's talk about that.
yeah, yeah.
What are you doing right now? How is it helping? Where did it come from? How did it start? Why did it take you out of the sound into this? So just run
Okay.
with
Yeah,
it.
I just wanted to clarify, being wanting
Yeah.
to be a doctor was when I was a little girl.
A little girl. Yeah.
I was a little girl. I mean, I did still become, in a way, a doctor because I did a lot of therapeutic modalities such as, Reiki,
Yeah.
Shiatsu,
Yeah.
Botsu. I did use my healing methods and
Yeah.
for many, many years. And I was also a yoga teacher. I don't know if you know the Kookaburra Creek Yoga Center.
Yeah, I've been there a few times. Yeah.
Bedfordale. So I used to
Yeah.
teach there for many years. A
Oh,
beautiful
wow.
place.
That
And
is.
that's where we started doing kirtans as well, which, just for your audience, if they're not familiar, kirtan is a form of chanting and singing to awaken the blissful state,
Yeah.
and to move beyond the mind. And I used to do that with my partner for 7 years in mainly in Perth and Bali. In Bali, we used to travel as well. So I guess since that experience that I had when I was 21, that
Mm,
shook me to my core in terms of, wow, we can, like when the mind collapses, and I literally remember the last thought that I had. I was walking on
mm,
the beach. It was at On Beach in India. And I literally remember that last thought that I had. And it was like seeing a ghost. Literally, I couldn't grip on any more thoughts anymore at all. And then just this expansion of beingness and an outpouring
mm,
of so much energy from my hands, from my
mm,
feet. Yet did not conceive my body. I didn't necessarily I didn't have any identification with anything. There wasn't
mm,
even an I too have um, any idea or any concept about anything. It was just this expansion into knowing all there is to know. It's very
mm.
difficult to explain. Uh,
Yeah.
there was no sleep. I did because there wasn't dreams, so there was no sleep. There's no subconscious. There's just incredible sense of energy coming
Mhm.
out. And in Kabbalah, we say that um, when we are like the creator is an endless force of sharing goodness. And that's what I felt. I felt like I'm an endless force of
Yeah.
sharing goodness. So that experience set me up onto a trajectory of, okay, how do I get there again?
Yeah.
Dissipated. And so I started to study yoga.
Mm,
Actually was an Osho sannyasin for many years. I was at the Osho commune in Pune, where my grandfather was born.
mm,
I stayed there for many years on and off while I was living in Europe. And I studied meditation, yoga, breathing exercises.
mm.
I've had a lot of experience with the states of consciousness that are very close to, not very actually, close enough to the state that I've encountered spontaneously when I
Yeah.
was 21. But I still always fell back into the ups and downs of life, the suffering and the pain, the hardships and the
Yeah.
heartaches. And something
Mm.
didn't quite work.
Yeah.
And I saw people time and again, and myself included, even while I was singing kirtans and doing music and studying yoga and teaching yoga, that I still was in this loop of up and down, high and low,
Mm.
and I wasn't getting out of it.
Yeah.
And so that's when I came into a more profound psychotherapeutic modality, such as internal family system, for
Mm,
instance, where I've identified parts and schemas of my own psychic
mm,
and realized that, okay, it's not just about being completely avoidant and suppressing my emotions and not
mm.
identifying with my ego and not
Yeah.
identifying with all of these things and just basically running away from life into a cave which is what we used to do,
Mm.
in terms of, when we were in India, the understanding was, oh, okay, everything is a Maya, it's all an illusion, nothing
Mm.
is real, don't identify with this, don't identify with that. But that it didn't have a pulse and it didn't have a life.
No.
So that's when I started to integrate both. Okay, how do you live within the modern the, the modern culture, which is
Yeah.
full of distractions and just full of information and gadgets and things, and it induces more and more and more identities by the minute.
Yeah.
Yet, how do you actually use that to find the deepest aspect of yourself? And I think today
Yeah.
this is my mission. So you've asked what is my greatest mission?
Yeah.
Okay, use life. Let's use life, let the everyday life, without running away, without suppressing, without avoiding, without
Mm.
doing all this spiritual bypass that we do a lot of the time in the spiritual world.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
do you use life as a board, as a springboard into a higher self?
Yeah. That is so beautiful. Like as you're talking, I just like, you're very right. There is in the spiritual community, there is so many people and who want to always live in love and light. They want to
Yes,
always be, out there, and they forget that they need to ground their energy
that's
and they have to be in this reality. So
reality.
it is about bringing the light, the love and light down into this
Beautiful.
reality. So,
Yeah, thank
and
you. Thank you for that. Because I just wanted to
yeah,
say something about the love and light, which, by the way, I've never used.
yeah,
I've never used these terms. It's it's exactly where the bypass is. The bypass
yeah,
is that if we don't feel the pain and we don't understand where it's originated, where the source is,
yeah,
then we can't really alchemize it into a blessing, into a light. But if we understand that our job is, all of us, all humans
mhm,
came to transform darkness to light,
yeah,
then we actually use the darkness, we use the pain, we use the suffering, we use the discomfort. We don't glaze it with sugarcoaty, yummy, lovely affirmations.
yeah.
We take the muck and we somehow find a way to alchemize it into gold.
That's it.
That's
Yeah.
the job. That's the work.
That's the work, yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's interesting because um when I first started on my journey, there's this big pull towards, the tarot cards and oracle cards and crystals and, the energy healing and all those like
Mm.
um all like the spiritual stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
the longer you go on this journey, the more you dive into this journey, you realize it's not about that. It is actually about the inner work. It is
The
about
work.
the awareness and
Exactly.
being guided by the voice of your soul. So it's coming back and doing the work and then
Yes.
so just it's beautiful. Yeah. So people out there who first start going out and then at some point you realize that the journey is in.
Yes,
That's when
exactly.
you can start alchemizing. That's when you can start actually,
Exactly.
when you're in the moment of having a conversation or an argument with your partner, you can
Yeah,
stop and go, hang on, this is coming from my inside. This has got
beautiful.
nothing to
Yeah.
do with the conversation or your fault. That's where the spirituality, that's where the spiritual
That's
awareness.
exactly where it is. And that's one of the things that I do in my work is that we look at the reactivity map of the person. Like my
Mhm.
clients, they have various different reactivities, and
Yeah,
the reactivity is exactly where we know the gold is.
yeah,
Exactly. And I
that's it.
don't want him to change anything. I don't want him to glaze anything,
Nope.
avoid, breathe it out, meditate on it. No, it's just, okay,
Yeah.
let's see how we can take this reactivity, because something is obviously wiring into your nervous system, and how
Mm.
we can find really the origin, really the source of that lack or fear,
Yeah.
and why you are wanting to find these instant gratifications, which is a lot of what we do in order to not feel the pain.
Yeah.
And
True.
that's when we really transform from the inside out, and we also transform permanently, not as
That's
a
it.
not as a temporary band-aid.
That's it. So you call it reactivity.
Mhm.
I know the greater world, most people out there will call it triggered.
Yes,
I
exactly.
don't like the word triggered. It's got a very negative a connotation to it. It just feels really heavy. I call it activated.
Yes,
So you are activated, but it is such a beautiful gift. It's actually a gift. And when you start bringing in the awareness, when you start doing the work, you'll notice it as a gift because it unfolds and opens up and it shows you where the work needs to be done. So
beautiful.
this is the spiritual journey, right?
Beautifully said. Exactly. We actually have a mantra in the mentorship program that I do is like, thank you for this trigger or for this reactivity.
Yeah.
This is exactly where I know where to dig for that gold.
Yeah.
Like it's exactly right. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Beautiful. So one of the methods that you use is the Gestalt method. Now, the word in German, the word means whole or complete. Can you tell the listeners a little bit more about that specific method? Because it kind of
Yeah.
stood out.
The actually I use a lot more internal family system. The Gestalt I use more in terms of somatic reading, understanding that the body language and the body holds so much information. I mean, one of the beautiful things that I remind myself because I loved dancing when I was young,
Mm,
and I believe today that a lot of the trauma that I worked on was mainly thanks to these primal dancing sessions that I've had for at least 20 years.
mm,
And I remember that native native tribes, even let's say in Africa or in
yeah,
native Indians, they didn't have conversations like we do today in the West. They just
no,
danced around the fire. That
they
was
did.
that was their therapy, their psychology, their processes.
Yeah.
So coming back to Gestalt, I remind myself that when I work with someone, seeing their body, their
Mm,
expressions is the map is right there.
yeah, it's
And
true.
that's why, that's the aspect of Gestalt that I work with, is the understanding of the wholesomeness of the expression of voice, body, and the mental
Yeah.
process is the whole gamut.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just wanted to mention as well, so with the native tribes, they also don't, they quite often express in the war chants or the sounds and the noises that they make when they are dancing around the fire, and they're more vocal around it as well. And because we've been in the sound around sound healing and things like that, that vocal expression is also really powerful for
That's true.
releasing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
so
right.
it's all part of
Yeah.
the body.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you for reminding me about something I used to do for 10 years. But yeah, that's true. Like I remember when I came into expression, the expression through voice, which was very compelling for me. It was almost like
Mm,
it wasn't mine. I just had to do it. It
yeah.
was definitely a huge healing period for me when I was using my voice. Hmm.
Yeah, the voice is definitely plays a really big part, and it was a really big part of my journey as well, from from not singing probably for 10 years, and then
Mm,
having to reawaken my voice and actually find my voice again through this whole beautiful journey. So there's a lot of power in the voice for sure. So so how do you use, so you've obviously got the Eastern philosophies and you've got the
mhm.
like you said, was it naturopath? Um,
No, the psychotherapeutic modalities.
okay, that or was it
Oh, you mean when I was doing
when
shiatsu
when
and
you
Chinese
kind of
medicine?
yeah. So the Chinese medicine and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
you've got all these different modalities and things. How do
Yeah.
you bring it together in what you are doing today? Like, how did you create? Because what we do on this journey, right, is we learn different things. And then throughout this journey, we start pulling different aspects of these philosophies and teachings in, and we
Yeah,
create the beautiful product that we
yeah,
have, the
yeah,
service
that's
that we
true.
have.
Yeah.
So, how did you draw all these in to create this product, essentially, this service that you have today? Like, what is your magic?
Yeah. Well, I think that one of the most important things, and I've noticed that also while I was doing academic studies, is the fact that we need to go ourselves through the process that we want to take our clients into.
Mm,
So for me, it's not necessarily that I bring Chinese medicine or that I bring Watsu or Shiatsu into what I do today, because obviously I work a lot online and it's not quite
yeah,
possible. These are very visceral,
it's physical,
yeah,
yeah.
physical
Mm,
modalities of therapy. But my own journey into understanding the body and understanding
mm,
trauma and having to live through the layers of my own processes and healings that I had to do, that's pretty much the essence that I bring into my work today, which is mainly psychotherapeutic, with spiritual studies, with spiritual technologies applied and brought into the context of the whole mentorship that I provide.
yeah. So essentially, so that's essentially the process, right? Is
Yeah,
we go through all these things, we do our own healing. Those
exactly.
modalities that we learn is essentially a lot of the time, like you said, it's more for us than it
Yes.
is for anybody else. Because I know that I learned things from Reiki and reflexology and some of the other coaching programs that I've done, but I don't essentially use those methods in what I do today. What
Yeah,
I do today is a culmination of the experiences that I lived and that
yeah,
I can now pass on to other people.
yeah. But it refined your vessel so that you can be a transmitter to others.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Yes, you're 100% right. Um, what kind of change or impact do you hope to create for individuals within your community through your mentorship and your training, your teachings?
Well, it's a great question because I find that the world today, and a lot of people I know similarly know that we are living in an accelerated intensity of all sorts of different occurrences that are seeming to envelop us. I mean, we know that we've had been through a big journey with COVID. It was a bit of an
Yeah,
out of this world kind of event for globally for all of us, and then there's
yeah,
all these wars and political tensions, and we are now so privy to everything that's happening around the globe that it's really difficult for us to hold a coherent, aligned, and connected space
mm,
within ourselves, to have a deep, intimate connection with ourselves. It's really becoming increasingly difficult for people to do that. So
mm,
what I do in my work is, and I love doing it through the mentorship program because individual sessions don't quite get the same effect, in fact, quite far from it. So within my mentorship program, what I do is I take clients from point A of being completely all over the place, reactive, not quite sure about their purpose or the meaning in their life or how to extract meaning in their life, which is really
mm,
important. And what we've touched on before, you can't go through life without really knowing that your life is precious and that
mm.
every scenario is actually there for your own elevation.
Yeah,
And people forget that.
100%.
People forget that. People just think,
Yeah,
oh my God, I'm just an effect. Things happen and I'm just on the
yeah,
receiver end, and there is a victim mentality, or there's a mentality of I'm inconsequential, and
mm,
what I bring people to understand is that there is a beautiful Vedic saying that's the translation is all is for I am.
That's
So
beautiful.
yeah, all
Mm,
is for I am. So if one person gets to understand, if a person gets to understand that all that they perceive is for them, so that they can elevate to
yeah,
the next level of their consciousness, their life, their higher self, then what a beautiful thing it is, creation in the first place. And how
yeah,
can we then foster this beautiful trust and love and depth of meaning and purpose back into our life?
yeah. Very true.
And so this is my work.
I love that. And you're right. It's people, when people start understanding that life is not happening to them, it's happening for them. It
Yes,
brings a big
exactly.
shift in their
Big.
reality.
It's the
It,
biggest.
it changes the way you see things. It changes the way you live your life. So yeah, it's beautiful that that you can help clients in that way and kind of take
Yeah,
them from that space of reactivity or from that space of not belonging or not feeling like
yeah,
themselves, and then helping them understand that,
yeah.
what, actually, this is the work.
It's
This
for,
is
and it's for
how,
you. Yeah,
yeah, it's all for you.
for
Yeah,
you.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Um, Before we finish off, I want you to please tell people where they can find you. Now, I'll have all of this in the show notes for people as well, but share with people how can they work with you? Where can they find you?
Okay, well, thank you. Yeah, I have a website. It's called devraj.org, and they can find me there. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram, Raji Deva. And yeah, there is a page on my website. It's called the mentorship program. Where is the best part of my work, where I take people. I work mainly with women, but that it really is open to even families, groups, men as well. Through from point A of fragmentation to point uh, Z to complete wholeness, and
Okay.
yeah, finding themselves again back online, and having agency. So yeah,
Yeah, beautiful.
that's mainly my website now. Yeah.
Okay, I'll have that all in the notes for the listeners. Your mentorship, do you work groups or do you do one-on-one work?
Yeah, I do groups. I do one-on-one. Currently, I'm doing two one-on-ones, but I had a group several weeks ago,
Mm-hmm.
that I was. I'm also happy to work with a family or people who work teams from work who want to have a better relational um, dynamics. Uh,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, so on the page, on the mentorship page, there are different tiers to, yeah, for different people.
Beautiful. All right. So before we finish off, I've got one last question for you. So if you could only leave one insight, one truth that you've learned behind for the world, if you had to leave tomorrow, okay? So if you could leave one insight, one powerful insight behind, what do you think that would be?
We as humans um, have been chosen to take this whole reality matrix back into unity with its creator. That's our only task as humans.
Mm-hmm.
So if we return to that original blueprint, the original most important desire of our existence,
Yeah.
then we will always, or if that's the northern star, coming back to your full potential as a human, which means to know oneness with the creator,
Yeah.
and that's the northern star, well, you'll always be on the right track.
Yeah, beautiful.
Having the northern star and aligned.
Yeah, love that so much. Love, love, love that so much. Now,
Thanks.
I before I finish off this episode, Raji, first of all, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh,
I want to take just a moment to follow on from what you've said. And I wanted to just take a moment and kind of just introduce or just remind the community out there that my
please, please.
book, Spiritual AI, The Authentic Intelligence, is out there right now. What Raji just said about coming back to that the authentic self, right? Coming back, and that's what the journey is about, is finding ourselves, coming back to the soul. This is what spiritual AI is about.
Mm,
We cannot come back to ourselves if we don't have a sense of awareness and if we don't live a life guided by our intuition. And that is what spiritual AI is about. It
mm,
is not about artificial intelligence, it is about awareness and intuition. And this book will change your life. And I
mm.
don't say that lightly. It will change your life, right? If you can stay in a space of awareness, it will guide you all the way through. Actually, somebody said something the other day, and I've got it here because I wanted to read it. And they said if people only knew the value of this book, they would run to it like their life depended on it, because
Oh,
it does.
beautiful.
If you know what awareness and intuition can do for you, you would literally run out and go and grab the book today, because it will change the way you live your life, your relationships, your health, your partnerships, your children, the way we vote, the way we live in a community. It will literally help us come back to that essence of who we are, just like you said, Raji.
Beautiful. Please, people, go and get this book, me included.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining me on the episode
Thank
today. It was a
you.
real honor, a real pleasure to have you on. We definitely need to do it again. So, Raji, thank you very much. Guys, I'll have all the details in the show notes for you. And if you haven't listened to any of the other episodes, go back and listen to them. And also, there is a few more beautiful guests that are coming up in the weeks to follow. So keep an eye out for the next episode. Take care. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.